Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Test of Time series. In the last episode, we wiped out France. Actually wiped them out at the time. They didn't manage to escape to a landform and settle some colonies before we got the drop on them. So they're just straight up gone. Just checking. And also in the last episode, I was planning on taking out Korea. But in between episodes, I decided I'm probably just going to leave them alone. Like, they don't necessarily have anything that we don't, like, we wouldn't necessarily be like getting a lot of resources, a lot of extra land, and they also have colonies off on other landforms, so they would stick around after we took all their mainland stuff, and they'd probably be angry. We don't want too many people angry with us because that will hurt our chances later on. So I think for now we're just gonna stay at peace. Um, Also, just out of my curiosity, I'm going to ask him for a copy of his map and see what he's got and hasn't got. So yeah, it's a whole lot of nothing. He's got some dyes. I don't know if we have. Yes, we have dyes. He has gems. We got gems. Oh, we will soon enough. He's got. What else did he have? He has incense. We have incense. He doesn't even have any strategic resources whatsoever. So there's really no reason to antagonize him. We can leave him alone. Probably weird coming from, somebody just wiped out France and Netherlands mostly for fun, but figured we should give them a break. That unit is so loud, by the way. I don't know why galleons and frigates are so loud in this game. I gotta figure out if I could change something about the sound files, make them so loud. Chill a bit. So you can actually have heat. Also, real quick, turn off enemy movement and battles, make these go a little smoother, and also they can get kind of loud. Hopefully the graphics are a little better. I noticed going through the first batch of recordings. It's the second recording session, by the way. First batch of recordings, the graphics look a little crunchy because I guess they were recorded. They were like compressed when they were recorded. So hopefully things look a little better now. And if not, then I have more stuff to work out. That finished before. We don't need to be building as many units anymore, and we can afford to switch over to more infrastructure. Something I don't think I mentioned in the last couple episodes because I was focused on the war effort was why I prioritize certain buildings over the ones. So the three most important buildings, actually probably four most important buildings I'm going to build in your cities are... the three most important are the marketplace, the library, and the courthouse. The library is important because it gives a 50% increase to the science the city makes. So, as I mentioned previously, a portion of the commerce you get off your city's tiles, goes into your science. But if you have a library in the city, then every commerce in that city counts 50% extra. So you get one more science for every two you invest, basically. Um, and universities also do the same thing, but you need a library in order to build a university. And later on, research labs, which are unlocked near the end of the game, will also do the same thing. But libraries are more important because A, they're cheaper, B, they're able earlier, so they have more time to make an impact, and they take less time to sort of pay themselves off because university will increase. It's also like a 50% increase, so it's like you're paying more for pretty much the same effect. Um, so that's why you want libraries in as many cities. You also want marketplaces everywhere because marketplaces do increase the money that is earned, the amount of money that gets turned, amount of commerce that gets turned into money. So like similar to how the library turns commerce into more science, the marketplace turns commerce into more money. But the real reason you want marketplaces everywhere is because they increase the effectiveness of luxury resources. Once I'm done with all these cities asking for help, I will show you what exactly I mean. So let's just go into Tokyo since our camera's on it. We have a marketplace here, and you can see that these first two luxuries, the dye and the incense, are each giving 1 happiness. But the next two luxuries, the ivory and the silks, are each giving 2 happiness. And then the gems that we have is giving 3 happiness. So this is the real reason you want marketplaces everywhere, is because without a marketplace, each of these would only be giving 1 happiness, right? You get 1 happy face for each luxury. But with a marketplace, for every extra like type of luxury resource you have, the amount of happiness that luxury gives is increased. So if you have all the luxuries, you get like a crap ton of happiness just from having the marketplace and having access to a bunch of luxuries. So that's why you want marketplaces absolutely everywhere, because this is also not affected by corruption in any way. So you will always get this happiness if the city has access to the luxuries, if it's connected to your trade network and you have all those luxuries connected. This isn't affected by corruption anyway. So even in a city where a library wouldn't give much effect because most of the commerce is lost to corruption, you will still always have the benefit of marketplaces. So the marketplace is probably the building you want to build everywhere because it's the easiest way to keep your cities happy. Temples also work to keep your cities happy, especially in my mod where they give double the happiness that they do in the base game. But even a temple with the oracle only gives 4 happiness by itself, and a cathedral will give 3 happiness, and if you build the Sistine Chapel, it will give 6. But that's still 2 buildings and 2 wonders you need to get those, and you might not even get the wonders. Someone else might beat you to them. So Marketplace is the easiest way to keep your cities happy, aside from and even better than the commerce slider, because like I said, the happiness slider is subject to corruption. So if a lot of the commerce gets lost to corruption, you won't be able to put as much towards keeping your cities happy. So that's why you want a marketplace everywhere. And a courthouse you want pretty much everywhere also, because it reduces the amount of corruption a city experiences. I don't know by how much it reduces the corruption. And if a city is like, within a certain distance or within a certain rank in like the level of corruption, you won't be able to completely eliminate the corruption from. Basically, you won't be able to completely eliminate the corruption from most of your cities. But even with the police station that you unlock later in the game, that basically acts as a second courthouse. Like how the university acts as a second library. But you can still make a dent in the amount of corruption city experiences, and you'll be able to get more commerce and production out of it. Thankfully, corruption doesn't affect your food, so your cities will still be able to grow even if they're corrupt. So that's why you want to build those 3 everywhere. Temples are also things you probably want to build a lot, um, because they give culture and happiness. They give in the base game they give two culture and then one happiness. In my mod, they give three culture and two happiness. Um, but they're definitely not as important as libraries because the library also gives a little bit of culture. In the base game, it actually gives more culture than a temple, so there's even less reason to be building temples unless you're religious and get a discount on building them. But um, uh, you need culture in a city. It's probably better to have a temple in that city because it gives a little bit more culture in my mod than a library. But if you're playing the base game, if you're not playing with my mod, then library will basically give you all the culture you need to expand your city's tiles. Um, so those are buildings you want to build pretty much everywhere. Um, I usually end up just building everything anywhere anyway, but going to be a bit more optimal about it. Those are the only things you really need or should build absolutely everywhere. Some other buildings worth considering are the aqueduct. Um, this is another mechanic I don't think I mentioned. I mentioned how cities come in three different sizes. They come in small, medium, large. They come in towns, cities, and metropolises. Um, and I believe I touched on this, but I'll say it again. In order for a city to grow from a town to a city, basically for it to go from 6 population to 7 population, it needs to be either on fresh water, like Vei here is. You can see it's, on this tile that is, technically on this river because it's on like the corner here. Better example here would be Rome. Obviously, it's on directly on the river, or it needs to have an aqueduct. You can see Ulsan, this Korean city that flipped to us from culture, is not on a river. It's not next to a lake, and it's stuck at 6 population, even though its growth bar is completely full. Um, so that's because it doesn't have an. It's because it's not on fresh water, and it also does not have an aqueduct. That's why we're building one right here. So if you want your city to grow past size 6, and it's not on fresh water, then you need an aqueduct. And you'll also notice that Vey and Rome are stuck on 12 population, even though their granaries are full, and that's because in order to grow past size 12 and into size 13, you need either a hospital building or the Shakespeare's Theater Wonder. Um, and we don't have either of those yet. And the Shakespeare's Theater Wonder is able earlier, but only affects one city. It only affects whatever city you build it in. So those are also buildings worth considering. Hospitals, I would argue, are less important because hospitals are kind of dependent on how far apart your cities are. If they have enough room, basically, they have enough tiles to work to even grow to size 13 in the first place. So if your city's too cramped to even grow to size 13 at all, then probably don't bother with a hospital. Other buildings. I think we've built a lot of the essentials. Barracks I mentioned. If you want effective combat units, build them in a city that has a barracks because they will promote to veteran status. They will get that extra 1 health and be stronger in a fight. The courthouse. The one exception to the build courthouses everywhere rule is your capital, because your capital does not produce any corruption. You can see Kumai has absolutely no corruption anywhere because I accidentally built the palace in here at some point in the previous episodes. I don't know when I did that. I have to look through the footage again, find out when I did that, and probably throw some edit to make fun of myself. But your capital does not experience any corruption, and if city does not have any corruption, then a courthouse does nothing except cost you 1 gold per turn in maintenance. Some city buildings require maintenance in order to have their effect. You can see the temple doesn't have that little red coin next to it. The courthouse does, so the courthouse will cost you money. So if you build the courthouse in your capital, you're basically wasting money. And in this case, I didn't build the courthouse in my capital. I built the capital, moved the capital to the city that already had a courthouse, and we're moving the palace back to Rome because that's where I want it. I still can't believe I did that. I'm such a nonce. But yeah, another building worth considering is in coastal cities, you'll probably want a harbor because a harbor does actually does three things. Um, Firstly, it gives one food to all coast and sea tiles. Coast and sea tiles start off giving one food each, one food, and I think two commerce. And you can't move workers, excuse me, onto them to build improvements on them. This isn't like Civilization 4 where we can build improvements on water tiles. They are how they are. Um, you also don't connect any resources at sea, so you won't see any like offshore oil deposits or anything like that. Um, so the harbor will give food to all these tiles so that they're actually like worth working on. It will also give an extra. Will give veterancy to any sea military units you build. I don't know why I specify sea military units. All sea units have some kind of combat strength in this game. So we'll give that extra veterancy to all your sea units, so your naval units, I should say. So if you want a good navy, you want to build your ships in cities with harbors, and harbors will allow cities on different continents, quote unquote, to connect with like cities on different land masses to connect with each other through trade. So since all of these cities we have are not connected to the mainland through land in any way, they're on a separate landmass entirely, they would not be able to access any of the resources that are on this landmass without a harbor. And you technically only need like one harbor to connect all of these cities because if, say, Salutations was the only one that had the harbor, as long as these cities were connected to a harbor city with a road, then they can get the resources. But yeah, you need a harbor to connect your cities via trade and move resources around through them. So harbors are worth building in your coastal cities, um, and you can't build them in landlocked cities. You can see Byzantium here does not have a harbor and doesn't have the option to build a harbor. The temples I talked about, they give culture and happiness. Cathedrals are basically just bigger um, temples. They give more culture and more happiness. Be curious why this temple is giving more culture than the cathedral, even though I said it. Excuse me. Is less is because another mechanic that I totally forgot to talk about. One that I don't think the game ever directly tells you unless you look through the encyclopedia. Is that after 1,000 years, not a certain amount of turns, 1,000 years in game, the culture of any city, of any building that gives culture, will double. So this temple um, gives 3 culture per turn at a base, but since I built it over 1,000 in-game years ago, now it gives 6. The happiness doesn't change. And the same thing goes for wonders. If you build a wonder, I'm surprised I don't have any wonders in Rome. Nope. Can I find a wonder that I built? Yeah. So like the Sistine Chapel here, this gives a certain amount of culture. It gives 6, and since I built it less than 1,000 years ago, it still has 6. But where? Let's see, I want to check. Where did I build the? Yeah, okay, you can see we're getting 16 culture from wonders in Antium. So if I can figure out where it is, yeah. So Antium has the Hanging Gardens and the Oracle. So if we look at the encyclopedia for the Hanging Gardens, you can see it gives 4 culture per turn. But there's obviously more than 4 musical notes here. There are 8 actually. So the culture of the Hanging Gardens has doubled, and the culture of the Oracle has doubled. And you also noticed it gives money, gives us some commerce. So another advantage to wonders is tourism. Based on how long ago you built the wonder, and this only goes for this list of wonders right here. Certain wonders can become tourist attractions. After a certain amount of years, a wonder will start giving you gold. Like basically, tourists. It's been around so long that tourists have heard of it and they want to come see it, and they give you big money. So that's one advantage to building wonders early on, is that they can net you a lot of commerce later on in the game. It looks like Antium here somehow has not built a marketplace yet. Um, so yeah, that's a little mechanic to look out for, and I believe that still tracks if you are. That is still true if you did not build the wonder yourself. Like if someone else built the wonder, 1,000 years ago, and you take it, you still get all the extra culture and commerce from it. But I am not sure because I don't think we took any cities that have wonders in them. Yeah, looking at this screen, these are culture advisor. These are the only cities we have that have wonders in them. It's like yeah, and you can see if you click on the city, you can see what buildings are giving culture. This culture value number here is basically the total amount of culture we have accumulated over the turn. So like, this library gives a certain amount of culture per turn, and it's been around long enough that it has given 96 total culture over its, life of being in the city of Antium. Does Antium not have a temple somehow? What's that? Or has... Yeah, so... Oh, it does. Interesting. Well, yeah, there's still a few things here and there I don't fully get about the... Like, I'm no expert on the game. I don't know absolutely everything, so... like I said in the first episode, if you want an expert, go ask Suede, basically. And tell him I sent you. Tell him I said hi. I'm sure he'd be glad for the company. Oh. Why I brought all these guys into the city. Extra worker. Yeah. So, oh yeah, and another thing to consider about the barracks building is that in order for you to upgrade any land unit, it needs to be inside a city, and the city needs to have a barracks. I may have mentioned that, but it's worth going over again. Same thing goes for boats. If you want to upgrade a boat into a later boat, it needs to be inside a city, and that city needs to have a harbor. Later on, when we get to planes, the same thing goes for planes and airports. Airport will, similar to the harbor, will allow you to connect cities via trade, and will also give planes veterancy, give them more combat experience and effectiveness. We have, now that we've researched metallurgy, the statue of Zeus has gone obsolete. That means it will no longer produce free units for us, which is sad, but all good things come to an end. I say that, but I've actually made a lot of wonders no longer go obsolete because a lot of wonders in the base game are not worth building because they go obsolete too quickly, or like they go obsolete before they have a chance to really be that impactful. I've made it to quite a few wonders. Either just don't go obsolete or go obsolete later. One reason why the Oracle was basically the worst wonder in the base game, because its effect was pretty negligible. Temples in the base game only give 1 happiness, so you're only getting 1 extra happiness per temple. Basically, it doesn't affect the culture of them either. And it also goes obsolete basically as soon as you hit the medieval era. So you're only getting that extra happiness for the rest of the ancient era. That's basically just too expensive for that effect to be worth it. We are going to swing some workers down here. Excuse me, to improve this land that we took, because a lot of it is bare, because the AI is really bad at managing their land. and which is why they cheat so much on higher difficulties, because that's the only way they can actually give any challenge, because they're too stupid. Yeah, if you're struggling on some of the lower difficulties, then you really need to get good, because the AI is really bad. It's always really bad and really stupid. It just cheats harder on higher difficulties. Just gets like more free units. It gets bonuses to its yield. Produces things for cheaper. Also more likely to trade with each other. Get like a lot of free text from trading with each other. They go buddy buddy with each other. So basically, how difficulties work in this game, and in most Civilization games, the AI never actually gets any better. It just cheats harder. Because contrary to popular belief, it's really hard to get an AI to think like a person. Partly because we don't really know how people think. We're still trying to figure that out ourselves. If an AI can think exactly like a human, then is it really an AI anymore? I don't know, that's a whole can of worms. Probably shouldn't be opening. Cut that out. Yeah, most of the land in the former Japanese mainland is improved, so now we're going to swing all our workers down to the French mainland. It'll probably be all done by the time they get there, but something to do anyway. Two times. So, I mentioned in the first episode that I use keyboard shortcuts a lot. I use the numpad to move units short distances, and then I press the G key, and then kind of move them around with the cursor if I'm moving them farther away. If it's like within 2 or 3 tiles, then I'll just use the keyboard, use the numpad. If you don't have a numpad, then you should just use the G key. Because if you right-click a tile, then you'll basically like get a little pop-up about what's on that tile. You'll like kind of zoom in on it and see the yields on it. So you can't like move a unit with the right-click in this game. And I also could see each of these little actions. There's a letter or like a key combination in parentheses. That's if you press those keys, then the unit will do that. So if I were to press Control F, I'll start building a fortress there. So I do that a lot because it's easier than like moving the mouse back and forth all the time. But I only really do that in Civilization 3 because of that. Because the fact that you can't move your units around with right click. So like I'm using the keyboard to move them around. I might as well just keep using the keyboard for everything else anyway. In later games, Civilization 4, you can move your units around with right click. So at that point, I start clicking to issue commands as well because I'm clicking to move them. I might as well click to tell them what to do. So another reason that occurred to me to leave Korea alone is that we would have 7 more cities to manage on top of however many we already have, and it gets painful managing all these cities every single turn. So and like if we're not getting extra resources, we're just getting like a little bit more land that we'd have to manage and defend anyway. Then that we just uh, chill for a bit. Obviously, if someone jumps us, we'll fight, but I think for now we'll. Also, a little trick I never mentioned. You can, if you have like move animations on, I turned them off earlier. If you have them on, you can hold down the shift button to like speed them up and have like if you're moving a bunch of units all at once. Like if you select a stack of units and move that whole stack at once, you can hold down the shift button to have to skip the animation, just have them shift over. Other thing is that if you select a unit, like if you have like a whole stack of units you want to move all at once, instead of pressing the G key, you press the X key. X key is move all the active units on the tile at once. G is move just the tile unit you selected. You can see move units in stack X or J. You can also use J. And if you want to stick to just all the units of the same type, you want to use Control X. Or keyboard shortcut lessons with yours truly. Also worth noting that farms are building a farm is actually I, because it's I for irrigate. Pressing F will fortify the unit, so it's F for fortify, I for irrigate. It's M for mine, C for center the camera on the unit, Control C for chop woods or clear wetlands, like clear jungles and marsh. Control F to build a fortress. B to start a city or to join a city. If you have, since workers and settlers cost 2 population, if you move them into a city and then press the B button, you can like settle them in the city and like give that pop back to, or give a pop back to that city. You can use that to kind of like move population between cities. Like if you have one city that's too big and one city that's too small, you can kind of shuffle your population around. I don't do that a lot. Mostly just because I like to, I like to let cities kind of work on their own. But and also I usually don't see the need to like, decrease one city just to build up another when I can let them both grow on their own. Another thing, sorry for all the tutorials out of nowhere. This is like I said, this is the beginning of a new recording session, so I'm like remembering a bunch of things I didn't talk about last time. Is that you can see this little big plus sign in the city. This is called the Big Fat Cross. This is a thing you will see in Salutations 3 and 4. These are all the tiles that a city can work. These are the tiles that citizens can be put on to get yields out of. A city can expand its borders beyond that, like if it has enough culture, it can keep growing and growing. But this is as far as the citizens will be able to work. So you don't want to put your cities more than like 5 tiles apart, because then you'll have, like, you don't want to have more than 5 tiles between any 2 cities if you can help it, because then there'll be like a little line of tiles that aren't being worked by anyone. You can see here, there's a little gap here where like all the big fat crosses kind of end, and there's a gap where none of them cross. So we might want to actually plonk a city down there so we can work these tiles, and also so like some cheeky AI doesn't come in and plonk a city here, because AI will do that. The AI will walk through your cities, to walk through your land to like plop a city in like a gap in your territory. I've seen it happen. It's very, very annoying. Of course, if they do that, there's a chance the city will culture flip to you. That's if you're familiar with Solution 4, it's a very similar mechanic. every city's culture kind of puts culture pressure on the cities around it, and if you're basically if you have like more culture on the tiles of a foreign city, then there's a chance that foreign city will like flip to you because they identify they're closer to your culture than they are to the people's like their home kind of civilization, like the city that found civilization that founded them. I don't know the exact math behind it. I just know that uh, there's also like it's always like a chance per turn that it'll happen. And it's like based partly on how much culture is in the cities around it, like around the city that is going to flip. It's also like a relation of how much total culture your civilization has made. Like the thing I was showing you earlier, that screen, this here. Like if this is bigger than theirs, then you have a bigger chance of flipping their city, which is why the player is more likely to flip cities to them on lower difficulties, and the AI is more likely to flip cities to them on higher difficulties because they get, they have an easier time generating a lot of culture than you do. So that's the mechanic. It's similar to loyalty in Civilization 6, if you're familiar with that, but instead of being based on like population and some other modifiers, it's solely on culture in this game. And I think it's also, uh, well, I know it's also only in based on culture in Civilization 4, but you can use spies to influence that, but it's usually not worth it. Usually, it just doesn't work. Not effective enough to warrant doing. Um, I haven't talked about spies much in this game because you don't unlock spies until the espionage technology in the industrial era, and I don't even really use spies. There are a couple things you can do if we go to the espionage tab. These are all the various things you can do. There are like two different types of missions you can do. You can build diplomatic, which are uh, build an embassy first of all. I believe I haven't done that with England yet. I must have just totally forgotten. Building an embassy in a city's civilization's capital will allow you to like gives you more options in the trade screen. Like you can establish certain treaties with them that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. Um, but with just with just the embassy, you can investigate a city. You can pay a certain amount of money to like look at an AI city for that turn, see what it's doing. Basically, would have to pay every single um, turn. So, for example, you can see it'll cost us 24 gold, and we can see what's going on in this city. We can see what buildings they have, how many population they have, what units are in the city, and so on and so forth. Um, you only get this for like this moment. Like as soon as you click out of this, you can't see that anymore, and you'd have to do it again. So that's one thing. You can also steal technology. If they have a technology that you don't, you can pay to steal something. There are three sort of levels of operation here. There's immediate, which means that it's basically like a higher risk, high reward. Like you're more likely to succeed, but you're also like more likely to get caught doing it carefully and safely. Immediately is also cheaper. Well, immediately is cheaper, but you're more likely to get caught. Safely is more expensive, but you're less likely to get caught. And if an AI catches your spy, they will get mad at you. That's part of the reason why I don't spy, and also because if you're ahead of the AI, then using espionage probably isn't going to get you much. It's usually easier to just trade for technologies and for their maps. You can steal their plans, which will allow you to see where all of their units are on the map. Like you can basically like see as if they were your units for a few turns. Initiate propaganda. That is the thing I was talking about, where you can influence a city to culture flip. I don't know how effective that is. I've never used it. Sabotage production. You can destroy. I believe you can like take away a certain amount of like shields that they've put into whatever they're building right now, or destroy something that uh, they've already built and expose enemy spy. I believe it's either. But yeah, you can't do this in your own city, so you can like, I could go into like one of Japan's cities and like tell them that I don't know Korea is spying on them and make them mad at each other. But a lot of those are really expensive. They're really risky. They're basically just not worth it from my experience. Especially if you're already ahead. If you're already ahead, you don't really need to be doing any of that. You're behind. If you're on higher difficulties, it might be worth stealing a technology, or it might be worth trying to pit the AIs against each other. But there are easier, more cost-effective ways to do that. Like you can just straight up like pay an AI to declare war on someone else. Um, that's usually a lot more effective than just exposing their spy, and it's usually cheaper too. Um, so there's also not a chance that if you pay them to declare war, then they like there's no chance that will fail. Basically, I want this guy to like me again for something later on. So I'm gonna trade with him. Might just gift him some stuff to get him to stop hating me as much. One of the reasons you want the AIs to like you is the diplomatic victory. As unlocked in the last era of the game uh, with the United Nations Wonder. Whoever builds it gets to basically call for a election for General Secretary of the UN. Um, and the two candidates are whoever built it. Whoever built it always gets a chance to be voted on, and I think the number of candidates depends on how many people there are on the map. But it's always the person who built it always gets a chance to run, and whoever is next in score or something, or like someone else who's strong by some metric that I don't know. But the AIs will typically vote for whoever they like most. So if you keep trading with them, if you like the optimal play is to every time you unlock a new technology, trade it around, try to see who will buy it, and if no one has any money, they just give it away. Just constantly be interacting with them through the trade system. And if you do that, then they will usually like you enough to vote for you instead of whoever else. Usually the other guy who runs will always vote for themselves. And anyone who can be voted on will, anyone who's chosen to be a candidate will always vote for themselves. But everyone else will obviously vote for them or vote for you if you're one of the nominees. So you want to keep everyone happy, because if that election goes off and someone gets a majority of the votes, more than 50% of the votes, then they will win the game. That's it. That's just the end of the game. They win. So if you build a wonder and everyone's mad at you, or everyone just likes someone else more than you, then you will lose. So that's pretty much the easiest way to win. It's not the earliest victory you can get. The earliest victory is through military. If you can you can wipe everybody off the map. That will give you a conquest victory. If you control more than a certain percentage of the total land tiles and pops on the map, that will give you a domination victory. I can pull up the victory screen here. Yeah. Domination, percentage of world area, percentage of world population. If you have more than 2/3 of all the land and coast tiles, and more than 60% of all the citizens on the map, then you win a domination victory. And the easiest way to do that is to just, take cities from everyone else. There's conquest, where that's eliminate all rivals, basically wipe everybody else off the map. Cultural, there's two ways to win a cultural victory. One is to get one city to accrue 20,000 total culture over the course of the game, like all of the culture it gets through its buildings of wonders. Like if it gets a total amount of if all the culture per turn it's gotten over the course of the game adds up to 2,000, then you win culture victory. Or if the total amount of culture you've earned over your entire civilization is 100,000, then you win a culture victory. Um, if no one wins before all the turns are up, there's a certain amount of turns. There's a certain amount of turns each game can take. So if no one won by turn 540, then whoever has the highest score would win. That's a score victory. Space race, whoever is the first to build all 10 parts of the spaceship and launch it will win. I don't think you need to wait for it to arrive to its destination in Civilization 3 like you do in Civilizations 4 and 6. I think in Civs 3 and 5 you just need to be the first one to build all the parts. And then put them together, basically. And then if you do that, then you win. But I know in 4 and 6 you need to finish all the projects and then be the first to make it to Alpha Centauri, basically. The closest solar system to ours. And I mentioned diplomatic. It's everyone votes for who wins. So diplomatic is usually the easiest because it's not too hard to get everybody to like you enough. I believe if an AI, if their attitude is polite with you and it's not higher with anyone else, then they'll vote for you. I think if they like everybody equally, if they hate everybody equally, they will default to the player. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, diplomatic is the easiest just because it's you build the wonder, then everybody votes. If everybody likes you enough, then they'll vote for you and you win. You don't have to, and it's also one of the first technologies in the last era. Another good reason to go for a diplomatic victory is we can go to modern times, the last era. The UN is here at fission, one of the first technologies available. If you can build this and get the vote off, quick, you can avoid nukes, which are late in the game. Tactical nukes, which I think, can be fired from 6 tiles away, and ICBMs, which are really expensive but can hit anywhere on the map. You can win the game before people start firing nukes at each other, and things start getting really crazy. And also before global warming really starts kicking in. That's a thing we'll get to when we get to. But diplomatic is a good victory to aim for because it's easy. You don't need to fight a lot of wars. You don't need to manage your culture and stuff with domination or conquest. You don't need to. And with a science victory, you'd also need to research a lot of these technologies. You could see all these these little portraits that have the blue background. These are all the components of the spaceships. You need to research. First, you need to research space flight, and you need to build the Apollo program Wonder. Then you can start building all the parts. You need synthetic fibers, space flight, superconductor satellites, the laser, and robotics. You need all of these technologies, and then you need to build all the pieces of the rocket in order to win a space victory. That one's also fairly peaceful, but it takes a while because you have to research all those technologies, and you have to build all the wonders. You build all the pieces of it, and you have to do all that before anyone else does. And score is mostly just a consolation prize victory. If no one wins before the turn limit's up, then whoever scored highest wins. Culture, basically just have to wonder whore your little heart out, build culture buildings everywhere, and build them early enough that they can get that bonus culture from being really old. So that's also an option, but it's also not necessarily particularly fun because you're mostly just waiting with that one. But diplomatic is usually easiest. You can usually get diplomatic victory before you even get culture victory anyway. So that's what we're going for. And of course, you can go for whatever victory you want. Like I said in the first episode, you can play this game however the hell you want to. But finally got the palace back in Rome. If we can look back at Rome again, we can see there is no corruption anywhere in it. So do not build your courthouses in your capital. Otherwise, Otherwise, the Suede Man will visit you in your sleep and take away your Xbox. I think that was a joke he made in one of his videos. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to slander the guy. I think that was a joke he made himself. So granaries. I believe I mentioned what granaries do. Going back to the topic of building, you should build a lot. As well is granaries. They basically double your city growth. They don't always do it because the way it works is once you fill up the food bar with your excess food and then grow, half of that box stays full. You basically get like half of it left over, and you only have to like fill it up half as much in order to grow again. But it only starts working once you've grown at least once, because if you're at size 1 and you don't have any, you basically don't like have any leftover food to put in your granary. And when you grow from size 6 to size 7, the food box doubles. So like you get half of the box from half of like the smaller box once you're at size 7. So you don't grow like twice as fast from 6 to 7, or rather from 7 to 8. And the same thing goes for from 12 to 13. The box doubles again. So you want to build those in cities that you want to grow fast. You don't necessarily want it everywhere because, like your really corrupt cities, like out on like the fringes of your civilization, you probably don't necessarily care how big they are, how many tiles they work, because they're not getting all the stuff out of them. So like in your core cities, if you want granaries, you want them in your capital, want them in your ones close to your capital, and so on and so forth. But, because the way corruption works is that it's based on the distance from your capital, basically, and it works in like two ways. There's distance corruption. I explained this before, forgive me. There's distance corruptions, which is just like the sheer distance from your capital to the city in question. So like obviously Rem is going to be more corrupt than Vey because it's farther away. But there's also rank corruption. So like the city that's closest to your capital will get like a little bonus towards less corruption than a city that's like slightly farther away. Or rather, I believe it's like the order they were founded. Actually, I think it's how like rank corruption works. Like if you have two cities that are equally close to the capital, like they're the same distance away, whichever one is older will get less corruption. That's like the two, or it's like, I don't know, there's something like that. It's either like a city gets corruption based on how far away it is from the capital and how far away it is in comparison to other cities that exist. That's it. So it's how far away is the city from the capital, and B, how many other cities are closer. So the more cities that are closer to it, the more corruption it also gets. That's it. That's how it works. I just get that confused. So cities that are farther away obviously get really corrupt, and they also get more corrupt the more cities there are total. So cities that are on like the fringes of your empire that are like really far away from your capital are going to be really unproductive. I've mitigated that some with my mod. I've made it so that there's like basically like decrease the like the, how do I explain it? There's like on every like map size, there's like an ideal quote unquote number of cities that is like set in based on the map size, and that like once you grow past that, then like corruption starts getting really bad. And I've basically doubled that for all map sizes so that you have more, basically you have like more room to have more cities before corruption really starts getting out of hand. There's also difficulty also plays into it. On lower difficulties, you also get less corruption in general. But you'll still experience a lot of corruption in your really far away cities, like here, Shart. Nope, I don't want to change production. I want to zoom in. You see, we're still losing, you know, more than half of our commerce and production, even though we have a courthouse here, because it's so far away from Rome, and there's so many other cities that are closer. Um, so in cities like, cities like these, you probably don't want granaries because like you don't necessarily care about their production because their population, because you're not gonna get much out of those pops anyway. So that's just, of course, if you like want to play totally optimally. That's the strat, is to keep them to your core cities. They're not as important in the fringes of the empire. And I think I could just go into the Cyclopedia and look at all the buildings. I can probably do like a separate video on like what buildings are worth building and where. If there's enough interest. If you want to see a video like that, let me know in the comments and I'll make like a little tutorial video on what buildings to build where. And you can, I think Suede has his own video on what buildings are worth building where and when. But if you want me to do one, then let me know in the comments and I will make a short little video about it. Things are slightly different in my mod, so it might be worth exploring how my mod changes things. Alright, so now that we have researched all the mandatory technologies here in the Middle Ages, we are in the Industrial Era, and the first technology I'm going to research is steam power, because that will reveal coal, which is an important resource, and will unlock railroads, which are a very important improvement. Yeah, units moving along railroads just instantly zoom around. I believe it, like it says they expend 0 movement points, but I don't necessarily think units move instantly, like from one tile to another. There's a continuous railroad through them. I could be wrong. I think it's like a unit with 1 movement can move like 10 tiles across railroad. I think that's how it works. That might be wrong, but the really important thing with railroads is that they increase the output of farms and mines. So a farm with a railroad on it will give 1 more food, and a mine with a railroad on it will give 1 more production. That's similar to in Civilization 4, where they will increase the production of mines and quarries. But here in Civilization 3, they give a bonus to both. And those are the only 2 tile improvements that improve the yields of a tile in this game. There are no pastures, there are no quarries, there are no plantations, there are no cottages, so these basically just increase the productivity of all of your land. And they also make your units move faster across the map, but you need to have, in order to build a railroad on a tile, that city needs to have access to both iron and coal. So that is why we are researching steam power first, both for the railroad and for coal. Then next we will go to electricity, because that will make our workers work twice as fast. In the base game, that, I believe, is either at steam power or replaceable parts, where that modifier is. Then I'm going to go to nationalism to get an infantry and riflemen. They get, better units, so we can... The guy tries to start stuff. We'll be ready. Then I'll go into sanitation for the hospitals that I mentioned earlier. That will, you can grow past, size 12, and your city needs to be 7 population or above to even build a hospital in the first place. Because if it's below 7 and it's not on fresh water, then it would need an aqueduct first. This says disease from floodplains is limited and the effect of plague is reduced. This I forgot to remove this tooltip. That's a mechanic in the base game where a city founded on floodplains has a chance to experience disease, where it will basically start the population will start shrinking, and that's just like a random chance. I turned that off because it doesn't really add anything. There's no mechanic around it. It's just like, oh, if you found a city here, then it has a chance to just start sucking all of a sudden. Um, so I turned that off basically. And I think medicine did the same thing for jungles and marshes, but since I also turned that off, it basically does nothing. I'm gonna have to give medicine something at some point. Um, um, but then after that, I'm gonna go for a scientific method because I think, like one of two or three wonders in this era. No, four actually, four wonders. Um, Three like great wonders. They're called world wonders. This will give you 2 free texts when you build it. So I want to go. I like to build that, then get atomic theory and electronics for free. Atomic theory doesn't do anything. Electronics allows you to build the Hoover Dam, which gives you a free hydro plant in every city on the same landmass as the city you built it in. And hydro plants will basically double the effect of your factories. So it doesn't do anything if the city doesn't have a factory, but yeah, but if it has a factory, then that factory will basically be like the factory will have a double effect. And it notably does not produce any pollution. So since we're in the industrial area, we can talk about pollution. Pollution is a mechanic where certain buildings, like factories, coal power plants, I believe pretty much every, well, no, it's mostly factories give a little bit of pollution. Coal power plants will give that, production bonus to the factory, but they'll also produce a lot of pollution. Um, Cities that are above a certain size will also get pollution from uh, their citizens. Like the size of the city will also contribute to the pollution the city makes. Um, and the city is experiencing pollution every so often. This is like another random chance. There's a chance that like one of the tiles in the city will get covered in pollution, and like the city can't work it, and you'll have to send workers to clean it up. Um, Really annoying, honestly. But other thing is that the total amount of pollution will contribute to global warming, and once global warming hits a certain threshold, certain tiles will start changing into other terrains. So like grasslands will turn into plains, plains will turn into desert, um, marshes will turn to water. Like marshes will like flood, basically, things like that. So um, yeah, you want to try and mitigate pollution because just in general, just it's good for the environment. It's actually like legitimately like a good thing to try to keep that down. Because having too much pollution will hurt your tiles, and that is no good. Let's see here. Um, so that's why I like the Hoover Dam, because it will give you a free hydro plant in all cities on the same continent. And hydro plant normally needs to have a river in the city's big fat cross in order to build it. The city doesn't necessarily need to be on the river; it just needs to have the river, like a tile with a river next to it in its big fat cross, in order for it to build a hydro dam. But the Hoover Dam will, like, the conceit is that like it gives power to all of the cities, like it generates enough power for like all the cities on the continent as if they had a hydro plant of their own. Like kind of the conceit with all those wonders, they give you free buildings that they act as that building for all those cities all at once. That they give the effect of that building to all those cities. And that is particularly good because it allows cities that would not normally be able to build a hydro plant to get that boost to their factories without having to build like a messy old coal power plant that would produce a lot of pollution and such. but that only works for cities on the and the hydro plant isn't the only building that gives you clean power. It's just the only one available in the industrial era. You can unlock solar plants in the modern era, the last era of the game, and those can be built anywhere. Those also give you clean energy, but like I said, those are unlocked basically full era after the hydro plant. So the Hoover Dam is a good wonder to build if you are playing into the late game. Like if you haven't finished the game before then, basically. So one thing I like to do, this is kind of like a personal preference thing. One thing I like to do is once I hit steam power, and by this point usually most of my land is improved anyway. That like once I have steam power and once I have all of the tiles improved, they want to improve them, I will set my workers to automate no altering. So Shift A. So that what that means is that they will basically run around and improve tiles without changing what's already on them. So like they will build railroads on top of roads. They will like clean up pollution. They will chop forests and build roads and railroads and stuff like that. So and they won't like change mines into farms or farms into mines or whatever. So I usually like to just have them automate it so I don't have to build all those roads manually, because that takes a lot of time. And they also usually stack on top of each other and get it done pretty quickly too. Something worth noting, this is true in both 3 and 4. If you have more than one worker on a tile building the same improvement, they will build that improvement faster. You can't do that in 5 and 6 because the 1 unit per tile rule. And workers build improvements instantly in Civilization 6 anyway, so there wouldn't really be any point. You will also notice that this unit is called an arquebusier, whereas in the main game, the vanilla game, is called a musketman. Thing is that this guy is holding an arquebus. You can see by the stick he's propping it up on that's an arquebus. I think people probably use muskets with the stand, but that was much more prevalent with an arquebus. He's definitely like not dressed like a typical musketman would be. So I changed his name to an arquebusier. I also added this unit that I call the musketman. This is not in the base game in any way. This is basically just like how the medieval infantry is like the offensive counterpart to the pikemen. This is the offensive counterpart to the arquebusier. So you have like the offensive infantry and the defensive infantry. In the base game, I don't believe medieval infantry and like pikemen end up. Well, medieval infantry and longbowmen, which are like the offensive units of the pre-gunpowder era, end up upgrading into anything. I think they just kind of like dead end there. So I wanted to like give those units some more longevity and also kind of fill out that niche a little bit more. Even though like mounted units and armor units are typically better for offense anyway, but if you want that niche, or if like you don't have the resources for those kinds of units, then it's nice to have the option. And same thing goes for the riflemen and the line infantry. Line infantry is new. I used assets from the Napoleonic Wars scenario, if you're curious. Those are units from that scenario. I just used them because they were like already in the game, no use. Not necessarily no use, but easier to do that than just like hunt on the Fanatics forums for assets someone else has made. Which I did do that for like some of the unique units. I've changed a lot of unique units that are either just like not very accurate or just not very good, or in one case are too good. So it's mostly for accuracy that I would change a unique unit, and also just so like half of the units aren't all like knights, because I think in the base game there are, I think, like 4 or 5 units that all replace the knight. And the knight is good, but you know, some variety would be nice. Um, so anyway, you have the musketman, which is the offensive version of what used to be the musketman, is now the arquebusier. Then you have the line infantry, which is the offensive version of the attacking version, I guess would be a better way to say it, of the rifleman. Then the guerrilla is the offensive version of the infantry, and then the Tau infantry is the offensive version of the mechanized infantry. So you like those lines always have an option throughout the game, um, and units don't just like they're just like dead end in the little upgrade tree there. You always have a way to make your units into a better unit. Um, uh, and you can. I'm not gonna go to every. I'm gonna try not to go to every single change I made with this mod, because these videos are gonna be long enough as it is. So if you want like the full story on what I changed, you can check the uh, the README that comes with the little text file that comes with the mod files. You download it off the forums. You don't necessarily need to build every building in every city, but I usually end up doing it anyway because I like to. I like to give all my citizens access to uh, all the services they might need. Um, Certainly not optimal, but um, no, I'm not too chuffed about playing optimally. We're concerned with playing good enough. Yes. You know, trade maps and physics, sure. Yeah. So Steam Power makes the Knights Templar obsolete, so now it will no longer produce free units for us. Just like with the Statue Zeus and Clergy. And now that we've researched it, let me just like turn off all the gubbins on the map and see if we got any coal. How did how is there no coal on this entire side of the map? What is this? This is nonsense. That is that is absurd. Like not even Korea has some. Like this island doesn't have any. There's none on the mainland. And, you know, let me just check to see. Yeah, no coal anywhere. All of the coal is over here somewhere. Oh, we're gonna have to do some trading. Or even, how much coal is there even on there? There should be more coal on the map than this. More than just 2 sources, surely. One up there, one there, one there, one there, one there. More than 5. It's just stay right. 6? There's a 6th. That is probably the worst luck I've had with resources, like, ever. I don't think I've ever had a situation where a resource just did not generate at all on an entire, like only generated on one half of the map. Like luxuries do that, but I've never had a strategic resource do that. So we are gonna have to buy it off somebody. I think Portugal, yeah, Portugal should have access to more than one copy, so we can buy one off of them if they have the. Actually, England should have. Yeah, England has access to more than one copy, and both of them are already on roads. So if we give them the technology for steam power, we don't need to wait for them to hook it up to get it from them. So let's talk to them, and leave theater of gravity and magnetism are both. Wow, they'll give us a lot for those. Yeah. Oh yeah, metallurgy is required. So let's give them steam power and ask for coal. There we go. Now we have coal. There, so that's one way to get coal. If you don't have one, find out who does have it, and then give them the technology to find it, and then trade for it. Super easy. You don't have to. You could also just, I could also have just sailed some troops over and killed them, but I think we've done enough killing. Well, we're in the market for trading with our friends, quote unquote, here. That's didn't necessarily mean to give them that for free, but do some trading. He's annoyed with us, so he won't vote for us. Just feed him tech, I guess. A whole bunch of stuff. Oh, accidentally hit next turn. My bad. Netherlands. So annoyed with us. I can't imagine why. Some stuff off him. Give him these things for free. Give him some ivory. Some silks for free. Yeah, now he's up to cautious. So that means he hates us a little less. Jazzbox Cathedral will build a cathedral everywhere. We'll try for it. I think a lot of the AIs have already started building it, so we might not get it, but I'll try for it, just for funsies, because it'd be nice to have. It's a good way to get your culture up. No. Now that we have coal, we can start building railroads everywhere. Let me just show you. Right now, this hill mine gives us 3 shields. Once we finish the railroad on it, it gives 4. You want railroads everywhere. Do not trade with Korea. Did someone? Yeah. Yet. Oh, he has nationalism already. He's caught up to us. Actually, why don't we ask him what he wants for it? So, Peter, that is a lot. That's a bit too much. A little bit too expensive for me. Why don't we just give him Miltrad and ask what he wants for it? So, Korea is a scientific civilization. So every time a scientific civilization enters a new era, they get one of the first techs in that era for free. I don't remember if it's random or if it's like the same thing every time. Portugal, why did they not like us? Yeah, that's Seems fine. Actually, want for this? Sure. You don't even necessarily have to get a good deal out of these trades. You just need to be trading. You need to have that relationship with them. Yeah. It will like you. Yeah, so if they can't give you anything for it, just give it to them for free. Chances are they'll get it from someone else anyway. Okay, so it looks like one of our, probably like a boat on Auto Explorer that wandered into their lands. They got pissed. We signed a rite of passage agreement so that our units can move through each other's borders freely, and that also makes them like us more. Rite of passage agreements are a good way to get another civilization to like you, but it's also kind of a risk because they might, the AI tends to abuse that. They will like walk into your land and then like attack your city, like that's in the middle of your empire. Because if you declare war when your units are already in their land, they don't get bumped out like they would in any of the later games. They stay where they are. But if you do that, then everyone else will hate you because they see that as like violating the agreement of like they basically they consider like you stabbed them in the back by doing that. It's like they figure if you were in their territory, you had a rite of passage agreement. And if you declare war, then you end that rite of passage agreement. If you end any kind of agreement by declaring war, then they other AIs will consider that a betrayal, and they will like you less, and they will be less likely to trade with you. They will consider you untrustworthy, so on and so forth. So you don't want to do that yourself, but they will do that because the AI is stupid and does not consider that. They backstab each other all the time. They don't care. Don't be like the AI. Yeah, just gonna have these guys automate. Just have them build the railroads on their own. Don't have to keep telling them all the time. Yeah, so rite of passage agreements can be tricky. Main thing you want to watch out for is make sure there aren't any like gaps in your territory where like they can send down a settler and plop out a city like in the middle of your empire. And you also don't want to keep any of your cities open because the AI can basically always see what's going on the map because if they had to abide by your rules of what you can see and not, they wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't be able to handle it. So the AI basically like cheats and can always see, well, like they can't see like the fog of war where they haven't moved any units at all, but they can always see like the explored parts of the world. And they always know how many units are in a certain city. So if like you have either like you have like a city with no garrison or a city with like a really small garrison, then the AI is likely to like pounce on that. They'll like rush a bunch of units over and like take it. Like they're very opportunistic. So and if you have a rite of passage agreement, then they can do that. Really, if you don't have a rite of passage agreement, they can obviously still move their units into your land, but you can call them out on it and get them to move, or just like declare war on you already. Um, so giving the AI open borders kind of gives them an opportunity to sucker punch you. So keep your units, keep a couple units in every city. Um, I say that with several cities that are very, very lightly defended. Um, but yeah, before you, I think certain AIs are probably more likely to do that than others. But yeah, those are always risky. There are other treaties you can sign with AIs that will make them like you more. Um, you can, and some of those are unlocked by technologies. Like you can do a military alliance where you basically both declare war on someone. Um, those are tricky because A, you have to declare war on that person too, and B, I think if you piece out of the war, like if you like make peace with that person before they do, then they get mad at you because they consider that like I know that like somehow violates your agreement to fight them together. Um, there are also other agreements that you can sign with them that will make you like them more, make them like you more, but will also are also like you're risking to have a chance to backfire in some way. All right. With that said, I'm gonna call it here. Uh, call this episode here. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the YouTube algorithm, helps my video get to people who want to watch it. In the next video, I think we're just gonna continue to, mellow out. So until then, be good, stay safe, and I'll see you all next time.